Okay, the time is 4 o'clock. I will call the Plan Commission meeting to order in person and via Zoom. Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, 4 p.m. City Hall, second floor and via Zoom. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schultz.
Here.
Commissioner Highfield.
Here.
Commissioner Kesnick.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Manager Lemire.
Here.
Engineer Sully.
Here.
Commissioner Lesquer is absent.
Okay, number 3 on the agenda is review and possible action relating to the minutes of the February 28th, 2023 regular Plan Commission meeting.
I
move approval of the meet. I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Number 4 on the agenda is review and possible recommendation to the City Council relating to a certified survey map for Tip of the Spear LLC for the property located at 1310 and 1320 Campus Drive.
Yes, thank you. This is under the process of a PUD, planned unit development, and I'll just give a quick overview of that so that the next 3 agenda items are somewhat put into context. The planned unit development process in this situation is going to be composed of first the CSM, which we'll talk about here in a second, where we're going to combine 2 lots into one. And then once we have that lot delineated, we'll be rezoning that lot to the PUD zoning. The PUD zoning allows the Planning Commission as well as the City Council to obtain some flexibilities for our current zoning code that allow us to exactly that, to be flexible for types of projects that are coming in that are certainly an asset to the community, but may require some changes to the zoning code. Those changes will be summarized within the general development plan. So when we rezone to the PUD, we will also accept the general development plan and those flexibilities that I talked about. And then the 3rd step will be the SIP review. This is a step we're most used to seeing. It's really just kind of a site plan review. It's called the specific implementation plan, and that's where we'll look at the specifics. So we'll talk about landscaping, aesthetics, and things of that nature that we normally review with respect to the zoning code. So without further ado, we'll walk through the first item, which is the certified survey map. And we'll just take a quick look at that here. Of course, I can't see it. The certified survey map that you see here is taking what is currently 2 lots, this small rectangle here in the lower left-hand corner, and then the more jigsaw piece puzzle that you see there is the 2nd lot, and it will be combining both lots into a single lot. This meets all of the requirements of the city's zoning code. City staff have reviewed it and have no concerns related to the CSM. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the Planning Commission might have about the CSM.
I recommend that the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council. I move that the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council the acceptance of the certified survey map for Tip of the Spear LLC.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Engineer Sully, were there any conditions that needed to be placed on that recommendation?
No conditions related to the CSM.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion by any Plan Commission members? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Number 5 on the agenda is review and possible recommendation to the City Council related to the rezoning to planned unit development, the general development plan for the Tip of the Spear residential development proposed at 1310 and 1320 Campus Drive.
Thank you. So this is where we talk through the rezoning and capture those flexibilities within the general development plan. So the current zoning for this parcel is SR2. It was reflected as such when it was annexed into the city, I believe about a year ago. The proposal in front of us is to look at the addition of 2 buildings. This is roughly where it's located in relation to the high school. And the 2 buildings are shown here. So Campus Drive is to the left or south, and then the high school access road is to the north or top of this figure. The proposal is for 2 phases. The first phase is what we'll be looking at in more detail in the SIP. And the second phase is shown there, but we'll return back to the Planning Commission for approval at such time as that phase is ready to move forward. There are a few flexibilities, as I said, required with this particular request. And those flexibilities stem from the underlying zoning district that makes the most sense for this. And that is the MRH 30 zoning district. MRH is multifamily residential. H is a heavy designation for that, meaning a high density area. So MRH 30 zoning requires a number of things, all of which this complies with, except for 3 areas that we noted. The first is related to pavement setbacks. And I should note, as I did in the memo, that the pavement setbacks on this particular project are met because this is not a public road up here along the high school parkway. But as we noted in the January 24th concept proposal, the city is in discussions with the school district of Fort Atkinson to make that a public road. So we are going to include a flexibility for varying that setback in that area. And that's specific just to this area that we've noted here within the memo. The reason for that is the retention basin that is immediately down or to the east of this particular building is required on the site, and that puts the building a little too close to the overflow or flood elevation of that. So the flexibility required there is something that we feel we can accommodate. The second is related to the building height, and we'll look at those in the SIP. I don't think I don't have a visual of that in this memo, but the building height within the MRH 30 zoning district, I believe, is limited to 45 feet. I didn't write it down. Yes, 45 feet. These structures will be 51.25 feet. So 6 feet, 6¼ feet higher than is allowed. And that is due to the underground parking that will be added into these 2 buildings. The third is a garage setback, which seems a little counterintuitive as there are no garages necessarily, but there is an underground garage, which is within the footprint of the building. So we'll allow that flexibility with the garage setback. The code indicates that it should be set back 2 feet from the principal structure. Of course, putting it on top of the building doesn't necessarily work in that situation. So all 3 of these from staff's point of view are fairly minor flexibilities. So what we'll be looking at here is approving the zoning to the PUD with the MRH 30 zoning as the underlying zoning with those 3 flexibilities to the MRH 30 zoning that I just mentioned. So if Planning Commission has any questions related to this, I'd be happy to entertain them now.
Have we heard any complaints or concerns from anyone else in the neighborhood or neighbors to this property?
We have not received anything formal. I have not received anything informal either. I don't know if any other staff members or Planning Commission members have.
I have not received anything.
I haven't either.
We have talked to the school district, as I said, Commissioner Schultz, about this, so they're aware of it. They view it as a positive. And I think the other thing we might note is that to the east, this is all surrounded by town land within this area too. So they may not be as paying attention, I guess, for lack of a better word, to the City of Fort Atkinson's Planning Commission and various things in this area.
But I will note that as part of the noticing requirements for a rezone, the clerk of the town of Koshkonong was notified.
All right, thank you.
Are there, Engineer Selly, are there any recommended conditions on the recommendation from staff that the Plan Commission recommend the City Council approve this general development plan?
The only conditions are these 3 flexibilities that should be noted. They're within the memo and then can be noted in the approval as well. I should note, and I don't know if I did, the general development plan will also come before city council for review at that body. The SIP, which we'll deal with next, is only approved by the planning commission. It will not go to the city council.
I'll move a recommendation to the city that the city council consider the rezoning of this site to the planned unit development, general development plan GDP for tip of the spear with the exceptions noted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further questions, comments, or discussion by the Plan Commission? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6 on the agenda is review and possible action relating to the planned unit development specific implementation plan or SIP for the tip of the spear residential development proposed at 1310 and 1320 Campus Drive.
Yes, thank you. So as I mentioned, the SIP is really akin to the site plan review that we're used to seeing here at the Planning Commission. What you see in front of you here in elevation view is a photograph of a very similar building that was constructed by this developer, I believe in McFarland, if I'm not mistaken. This picture, of course, is 3 stories. We're proposing 4 stories at this particular site here in Fort Atkinson, but the color scheme and the general layout along the facades there is consistent. The height that I was mentioning earlier is easily understood here with respect to how high these buildings are related to the underground parking that's necessary here. The site plan itself, here's an end view of that as well. The site plan itself was reviewed against the zoning code. There's the 3 flexibilities that we mentioned earlier and have approved, that being the pavement setback, the attached garage setback, and then the flexibility for the building height. Everything else that's proposed on the site, again, for phase 1 meets the zoning code and we have no concerns. All of the city staff reviewed this plan. Those that did have comments, I'll bring those up here for us to talk about. On the engineering side of things, from my angle, I wanted to remind Planning Commission that we do have traffic impacts within this area, not only from this development, but also additional developments that will be coming before us for review here shortly. The city has engaged a traffic impact analysis with Grafe, consultant that has some expertise in such within Fort Atkinson. They are beginning their data collection on Monday, and we'll have some results for us probably within the next month. So we'll be well ahead of any potential impacts to traffic within this area. This first phase with 1 building, 36 units, is not expected to have much, if any, impact on traffic in the area. As we continue to build with this development and the additional developments, that's when we want to make sure that we've planned ahead for any changes or management decisions that need to be made. The other area that we wanted to mention was there were wetlands noted on the site. The developer, Mr. Quam, has reached out to the DNR and has provided a letter from the DNR indicating that there is the opportunity for some limited filling of wetlands to accommodate this particular development. So as we move forward with more formal submittals for permits and things like that at the state level, we'll want to make sure that we have our review from the DNR and letters in hand, noting that that is in fact accommodated. The other group that had some concerns about the development was the fire department. They had requested a review of access, which the developer had provided. We looked at the largest piece of equipment, which is the ladder truck. The ladder truck can get into this particular area, but there is an addition on what would be the west side of the development, or the high school access, for a temporary access here. So the thought is that if we do in fact need to have the ladder truck come into this area, we would like to be able to pull through, and currently under phase 1, without that temporary access there off of the high school driveway, we do not have that ability. So We'll add that in. It'll have some sort of a gate on it, so it will not be usable by the general public or the tenants, but will be accessible to the fire department if it's necessary. In phase 2, I think that will be changed either to a permanent access at that location or perhaps at another location along that high school driveway. The last thing I wanted to note was on the landscaping side of things. There are, if you'll bear with me just a moment to bring up some of the plans. In the concept plan phase, here it is. In the concept plan phase, I think it was Commissioner Kesnick that noted this large pine tree. The developer did survey that and has accommodated that pine tree down in this lower left-hand corner within the stormwater basin. In addition, there are a number of oak trees that are fairly sizable on the site, and the developer is trying to make sure that those can be accommodated as well. So we've actually had discussions about pushing the building further to the north in order to kind of catch these oak trees within parking areas and parking bump outs so that we can preserve those monument trees on the site. The other aspect associated with landscaping that I wanted to bring Commission's attention to, we did request that this frontage area here along Campus Drive be set back a little further with some, and I apologize, I don't know the correct term, but berms or some sort of an aesthetic landscaping type feature put in here just to simply break up the parking lot that will be in front of the building. We did talk to the developer about putting the parking lot behind the building, to which he pointed out, I think correctly, that sort of removes the view shed of the rear of these, within the setting. So we felt that providing these berms on the front end to the street facing side would do well to break up the parking area there. There will be obviously a fair bit of underground parking to this as well. So I think that will help to mitigate the vehicles and things of that nature in the parking area. We do have a couple of different requests or conditions, I should say, related to this request, and those are noted in the recommendations. We would like, and the developer has added these things to the plan that we're looking at. Sidewalks will be added to the full length of the Campus Drive frontage along this side. There are a couple of hydrants that I think may be in the way, and the city has committed to moving those. But we would like sidewalks up and running, so to speak, as soon as occupancy of this building is allowed. We have waived the requirement for curbing around all of the parking areas. That or that area that we've waived, the requirement is here. We'll have a lot of sheet flow as the parking lot can be sort of tipped to the east here. And then all of this runoff, stormwater, meltwater can then enter into the pond. And I have no concerns about that. And then, as we mentioned, we'll continue discussions with the Fort Atkinson Fire Department to ensure that we have access during construction as well as after the building is constructed. Last, we did not get a full exterior lighting plan. So we've seen these before. It's a photometric plan. It's got sort of numbers on a grid that indicate the 1 foot candle power at all points within the development. That will be submitted to city staff for our review prior to any building construction on the site. I mentioned the wetland filling and the coordination with Wisconsin DNR associated with that. And then last was kind of a catch-all. If the Planning Commission had any other recommendations or concerns, we can add those in. So at this point, I'd be happy to take any questions. I will note Ryan Quam, the developer, is on the Zoom, and I'm sure we'll be happy to answer any questions about this that I cannot.
Thank you, Engineer Selly. That was a very thorough report. Any questions or comments or concerns from the Plan Commission for either staff or Mr. Quam?
I have one question. I was just looking at the Vanderwall and Associates concept plan for this planned unit development, and it appears to me that the buildings and the wetlands and stormwater retention are essentially flipped east and west from how they were shown on the concept plan?
That concept plan is actually for the city-owned property to the north. So the property that we're looking at right now
Okay.
is along Campus Drive. So it is south of that concept plan.
Okay.
So that,
I do have that in here. I'm trying to
yeah,
bring it up, but yeah, it's
So we can-
easy to.
right. It is a
All right.
little, it is a little confusing. I think that was just included in the packet just as a reference
Yeah.
point as to what is planned, generally speaking. Because it's not platted and that's not something, I mean, that was approved in concept. So even the development that does move forward in that area might not look the exact same as that concept plan.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure if it was flipped, that there weren't any concerns with, stormwater and
Mhm.
water management.
Yeah, stormwater will be something that we're taking a little more seriously with this because this is the low spot, right? So everything that's within that 75 acres upslope will drain down into this area. So and Mr. Quam did submit a stormwater report along with some erosion control information that I reviewed and met the requirements. Here we go, finally.
I have a question regarding the traffic survey.
Mhm.
What possible changes could be made to the traffic pattern or streets themselves based on conclusions that arrive from the traffic study?
Yeah, I think, as I said, with phase one, 36 units, we may see very little. The one intersection even now that concerns me a bit is the Banker Road and Madison Avenue intersection, specifically the left turn out of that intersection. So if you're facing south on Banker Road, trying to turn left onto Madison Avenue, that's an area that's been on our radar for a bit. And has been something that city staff has talked about potentially eliminating that left turn there. The TIA will take a look at that, and I would not be surprised if an immediate suggestion is that we do eliminate that left turn. My expectation beyond that, as we grow in density here, is that we'll see that we may need some additional intersection control that's not at Lexington and Madison Avenue. So that will kick in if the school district ever decides to move a middle school into the area, and we would have a vacation potentially of Campus Drive. Then we would have a difficult time getting all of these residential folks over to a controlled intersection. So I could see taking that controlled intersection at Lexington and perhaps moving it to Banker.
So if you were to eliminate a left turn coming south off Baker Road onto Madison Avenue, where would those people who now make a left turn there manage to do that?
They would go over to the Lexington Madison
Taking
Avenue.
Campus Drive?
Correct, yeah. So
Okay.
as long as Campus Drive remains open, I think the traffic impacts are going to be fairly minor. But at that point, if, as I said, the middle school is located in this area and we do end up vacating Campus Drive, access to that controlled intersection is limited for all of this residential development. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Additional questions, comments from the Plan Commission on this? And just a reminder, this is just for the first phase. The developer would come back for phase two. Also, just to note, this is in a tax increment district, number 9. Developer has asked for TIF assistance with financing that is moving forward through a separate path, I guess, approval path that includes the Economic Development Commission, and the City Council will be reviewing that development agreement when it is completed.
I move the approval of the planned unit development specific implementation plan SIP for the tip of the spear, subject to the recommendations made by city staff.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any final questions or discussion points by the Plan Commission? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 7 on the agenda is review and possible action relating to a site plan review signage for the Home Backup Systems LLC for the property located at 615 Madison Avenue.
Yeah, so this is a pretty easy one. It's a single backlit sign on the north side of the building facing Madison Avenue. Every business is allowed a minimum of 40 square feet of wall signage, regardless of the facade length. They are meeting that. It is backlit, as I said, but it will have an automatic timer, which is required for this area so that the lit sign can be turned off at the end of business hours, seeing it is facing a residential district. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's a new sign on the front of the building. They did do some improvements on the building over this last summer. So this is just the final step to end that procedure.
Yes, I did notice those improvements to the facade. They look nice. I think
Mhm.
this sign will also complement the building.
I just have a couple questions, mostly clarifications.
Sure.
Good. So the minimum size is 40 square feet or maximum is 40 square feet?
That's the minimum for every business. So regardless of the length of facade and business, because so most wall signs are based off your facade length,
Mhm.
but not every facade is 40 square or 40 feet long. So the minimum they are allowed is 40. So, and then from there, if your facade is longer than 40, then you can increase per foot of your
Okay.
facade length.
Okay. All right. It looked to me like in one part of the request that the proposed sign was 24 square feet, and then on the drawing, it looked like it was 32 square feet. So I just wanted to or not,
Yeah, with
not
the-
on the drawing, on the maybe on the sign contractors. Yeah, on the sign contractors under their description.
I see. Yeah, that may be the Generac below there that I may have overlooked that additional sign, but it does fall underneath the 40 square feet allowed. The dimensions that were provided to me from Mike Forrester were the ones indicating the 24 square feet.
Okay. I'm still a little confused about the minimum of 40 square feet, but I'll.
I think it's a minimum facade length
Okay,
of 40 feet.
okay,
So
Right.
everybody's given a credit, like
Of-
basically a credit of 40 feet.
okay.
Because you
Correct.
could have a tenant space in a strip mall that's only 20 feet wide.
Got it,
Correct.
got it. Okay,
You'll see that come up actually on the next sign,
All
which
right.
is less than 40 square feet or 40 linear feet. So
Okay.
we'll address that on the next one as well.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions of staff on this item from the Plan Commission? Okay, if there aren't any, I would entertain a motion to approve the site plan review for the signage at Home Backup Systems LLC for the property located at 615 Madison Avenue.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Number 8 on the agenda is review and possible action relating to a site plan review signage for MBE CPA for the property located at 1507 Madison Avenue.
Yeah, so this is also Madison Avenue, behind the Culvers in that mall area. This was at one time the Verizon store, and has been vacant for a little while now. And as you can see the sign there, the oval one, that combined with the lettering below ended up at 39 square feet. Once again, they are allowed that 40, even though the building, that section of the building that they're occupying does not measure 40. Every business is allowed that 40 to keep them, give them a reasonable size of sign to be presented. And then along with it, they are doing the group sign panels in the existing group sign along Madison Avenue in front of Pick and Save. And those are determined basically on the allotted sizes that are already there to fill the space.
Okay, I think it's great that this will be occupied once again.
Yep.
So that's a very positive thing for this area. Any questions or comments from the Plan Commission?
That minimum makes sense now.
Yeah. I would move that the plan commission approve the requested signs as proposed for the property at Madison Avenue, 1507 Madison Avenue.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Jed. Last on the agenda is adjournment.
I move adjournment.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned at 4:30 PM. Thank you, everybody.